match because I predict these things.
Tagir Ulanbekov takes on Azat Maksum this Saturday at UFC Fight Night Baku, Azerbaijan. And this is a very high-level fight. I feel like this one's kind of flying under the radar. Both these guys are very good, have a lot of skill, and very bright futures in the UFC. This is on short notice, somewhat. I think it was put together about 4 or 5 weeks ago. Tagir Ulanbekov was supposed to be taking on Kyoji Horiguchi, who had to withdraw. So Azat Maksum is making his return to the UFC on short notice. So curious to see how this one plays out. I'd love to see these guys, both of them with full camps, preparing for each other. But either way, I think this is going to be a very high level, very competitive fight between these two guys. But Tagir Ulanbekov, he's 33, 5'7", with a 70-inch reach, and he's 16-2 in his career. Only lost by decision to very high-level guys, Tim Elliott and Zhalgas Zhumagulov, so never been finished. Combat Sambo champion in Europe, trains at Eagles MMA, which is Khabib Nurmagomedov's gym in Makhachkala, Dagestan. He's very well-rounded, no real holes in his game, has a grinding style where, he strikes, goes to the clinch, gets takedowns, looks for ground and pound, looks for subs. He's just one of those guys at flyweight, very talented, can do it all, can finish you anywhere the fight goes. Has really solid striking that he uses to set up his takedowns, good calf kicks, good front kicks. He throws a really good teep kick to the midsection, to the face. Somewhat susceptible to leg kicks, we've seen in a few of his fights, and has kind of really, really tiny, thin legs. But decent power, was able to drop Cody Durden round 1 in their fight, and just has a really snappy jab. Goes all levels, just very versatile on the feet. In terms of grappling, he has very good grappling and kind of like judo-style takedowns. He can get them from the clinch, get them from the open. Has a really good body lock takedown where he gets a body lock and then elevates his opponent to get him to the ground. And then really good ground and pound with elbows. Good sweeps, scrambles off of his back. Good butterfly sweeps I've seen in some of his fights. So he can get guys onto the ground, be on top. If he ends up being on bottom, he's really good at sweeping and scrambling up to a dominant position. Good chin, can take a punch. Never really seen him hurt in the octagon, really. And good cardio, can push a high pace, grappling, throwing strikes, everything. So very good dude, fought really good competition. Alan Nascimento, Bruno Silva, Zhalgas Zhumagulov, Cody Durden, Clayton Carpenter in his last fight. Had a really good performance, kind of nullifying Clayton Carpenter's grappling, and looked really good. That was back in January, so taking a little bit of time off, hopping right back in there about 5-6 months later. Azat Maksum, 30 years old, 5'7", with a 70-inch reach. So both these guys are going to be identical in terms of height and reach, and he's 15-1. So again, very impressive record. Azat Maksum has only lost to Charles Johnson in his last fight, which is in February of 2024. So been out of the octagon for, 15, 16 months now, coming off of his first career loss to Charles Johnson, which, no shame. I think Charles Johnson's very good at flyweight. So, and he looked good in that fight in the first round. But Azat Maksum, he's got 2 fights so far. Like I said, lost to Charles Johnson, went to a split decision with Tyson Nam, and it was a good fight on the feet. Tyson Nam's no slouch. Dude's got a lot of experience out there. But Azat, he's well-rounded. Has 4 submissions, 3 KOs, fast hands, good combos, really tight boxing, a laser beam of a jab that he fights behind, good teep kick, kind of similar to Tagir, constantly moving and bouncing, never flat-footed, feints really well, kind of always twitching his shoulders and making his opponent kind of guess what he's going to do next. Also somewhat susceptible to leg kicks. He was knocked down like 3 times, I think, by Tyson Nam. And he was dropping and hurting Charles Johnson, like I said, in that first round multiple times. Looked like he was just rolling downhill against Charles Johnson, who made a really good comeback, though, to squeak out the final 2 rounds. Started wrestling as a teenager, so he has really good entries, really good timed takedowns, and very similar to Tagir in that, they're both very well-rounded, no real holes in their game. So I think this is going to be a fun fight to kind of see who can edge out the other, and what kind of skills get exploited, so to speak. But I'm gonna have to go with Tagir Ulanbekov. Again, I'd probably reevaluate this. I'd probably still go with Tagir, but just the fact that Azat took this on like 4 or 5 weeks notice, he hasn't fought in like 16 months. You know, the odds are minus 295, I think, right now for Tagir, which I feel they'd be much closer if he wasn't taking it on short notice, didn't have such a hiatus from the OCtagon, because, you know, Azat is very good. He is very, very good. He's one of those guys from the European scene, has a good record, but it's not really padded. He's fought a lot of really good guys, and you can tell that he's, you know, going to make a name for himself in the UFC. But in his last fight against Charles Johnson, like I said, he had a really good first round, but he couldn't kind of keep up that momentum. Charles was able to kind of mix up very well between his striking, his grappling, his pace, and he was just kind of able to make it gritty and make it a war. He put a lot of pressure on Maksum to win the last 2 rounds, and I think Tagir will be able to just kind of replicate that type of game plan and Charles Johnson's performance in this one. He's got all the tools to do it. And I think Maksum taking this on short notice, as well as just hasn't been in there for a long time, doesn't have the UFC experience that Tagir Ulanbekov has. It just doesn't feel like a recipe for success for him, which is frustrating because, you know, he's in the middle of his prime. He doesn't have to take this fight. I understand it's probably he wants to fight closer to home, but at the same time, you just took your first career loss. Like, don't get your second career loss taking fights on short notice against top tier competition. It just doesn't make sense to me from a career perspective. But I'm gonna go with Tagir to get this one done. I think he's just a little bit better, obviously more experience in the UFC, and he's been preparing for this fight date and has had a full training camp. So I'm gonna go with Tagir Ulanbekov. I don't think he gets Maksum out of there. I think he can just win positionally and win rounds in order to get a decision. Thanks.